Hello, Internet. So, hello, hi. As of right now, I do think that this will be the most important video I put onto this channel. Maybe in the future it wouldn't be, because there may be other important videos like this or of similar importance. But for now, this is like the most important video I think I'll upload for quite some time. And um it has to do with, well, I guess the title you would see it by now. But basically, it's gonna be a improv video, so it's not gonna be something that I'm just gonna script. Um, but yeah, um, there's gonna be much edits. Either it's gonna be like kind of like a raw video mostly. Maybe a few cuts in between, but not really much. And the cuts might be more so just because of certain video specific related things. Circulated things to that effect. But yeah. I this video I kind of want to more so I kind of want to more so relax. Like usually I would kind of rush these videos, not more so in production, but more so like to just get it over and done with as fast as possible. But nah, I think this video I'm just gonna kind of like chill. Just take it easy, kind of get all my thoughts across because it's a lot of thoughts. I have to preface this before I even start the damn video. Um, I think it will explain a lot from my perspective as well as the perspective of other people on the topic. And this is why I picked this video in particular because this video has by Basil. It has pretty much everything you want to know about the topic, more or less, and that's why I chose it. I even backed this up just in case it gets taken down because I found it very strange and peculiar how it had a lot of stuff there. You get into that, but um yeah. So just sit back and relax. I'll try to relax as well because um yeah, like I said, I'm usually used to like getting this done as optimally as possible, like as quick as possible, getting it done. But I want to just relax this time. So this time the video might actually be over an hour. Yeah, I want to just mostly just relax and take it easy, get this video done with, and yeah. But to preface, I would have to say that humanity is like the both the smartest and dumbest race I have, as in the human race, I have ever really come across. Well, obviously, this is the only thing I've really come across in this existence, as I know. But um, yeah, humanity is strange because we're smart in the sense that we know a lot of things. We learn a lot of mathematics, a lot of science, a lot of everything as a collective. But at the same time, we're stupid as fuck for the majority of people because they don't look up at the sky. That's a metaphor, by the way. We're very ignorant in the sense that we tend to be very narrow-minded and short-sighted of particular things. Not, I'm not particularly saying this to anything. I'm just saying it like we we're just very like we just don't, like I said, we don't look up at the sky. We do not see things for how they are, and we don't use our eyes more so. We just use what is given to us by society, and we tend to just not use much else. Like, we don't use much critical thinking anymore. We don't use our own eyes to perceive the truth. We just usually, so, well, I kind of try to, obviously, because I can't judge without, like, seeing that, but, like, um, most of humanity just doesn't do that. And That's the stupid part. Um, but yeah, everything else according to this, like this video is gonna display a lot of the smart stuff, and you understand what I mean by that. But so yeah, without further ado, I guess I should start it up. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, as I said. It's 27 minutes. However, what I'm gonna do is for this video, and if I'm gonna watch any other videos too, like this similarly, I'm probably gonna put up this playback speed to times two and set the captions on. And because I usually do that for videos, I usually, especially videos I just want to get rid of, or just because I already watched this one. Um, but I usually put my playback speed to two because I'm very used to that actually. And all I do is this as a thing. I just put the subtitles on just in case my ears miss anything, but my brain will not with the subtitles on. So that's usually a thing I just do. In general, it's pretty nice. But yeah, we will get started very soon. All right, so let's begin with the times two speed video. So if you ever need if you're not used to the times two speed that I'm used to, you can just pause at certain points to get any information. But otherwise, just look at the subtitles and you should be fine. Just to speed things up a little bit.
These are some of the most bizarre and terrifying aspects of artificial intelligence in the form of an iceberg. We'll start with the more weird and controversial topics before diving deeper into the truly sinister and
I'll
deluded
also
uses of AI.
pause a
I made
bit
this
at
iceberg
certain times
myself,
if
and
I need to
honestly, I
say
kind of regret it. Let's
things.
start at the tip of the iceberg. The dead internet theory is a conspiracy theory that claims most of what you see online, like social media.
Oh yeah. So let's just pause here. I forgot to almost mention how below you can see um underneath you can see that apparently this thing has like Twitter used to have these notes, community notes, community guidelines notes. I don't know if this is a community guideline. This is the first time I've actually seen this on YouTube, but apparently we're having community guidelines notes on YouTube as well. Because it first started on Twitter, everybody was memeing it. Like, anytime you see a post that was just like either slightly off or thick or like quote unquote conspiracy or theory, you'd see the community guidelines show up from either people reporting it or whatever have you if it went viral. And sometimes the notes actually used to be wrong, other times it used to be right most of the time, but sometimes it actually used to be wrong. So it's like who to believe at some points in time. And yeah, I'm surprised to see this actually coming to YouTube, but I guess at the same time, I'm also not as well. But he'll explain what the dead internet theory is more so if you don't know what it is. It's pretty common at this point, but if you don't know what it is, just stick to the video.
Media posts, forum threads, or even videos isn't made by real people. Instead, it's all generated by advanced bots built to act human, giving the illusion that the internet is still alive. These bots supposedly post, comment, and interact just like us, all while quietly pushing certain opinions and narratives. People who believe in it think the goal is
Okay, so basically what he just said there is that um, allegedly the internet has been. What he just said there is allegedly the internet has been dead for quite some time. And dead in the sense that it's not obviously dead, like we use it every day, in fact. But what he meant by dead is that most of the things that you see, this is a basic definition, by the way. Most of the things we see, like especially on social medias, for example, are things that are created by bots. So, for example, and I have a thing of this. I hope I will put it up in an edit, a slight edit of right now. Yeah, definitely some botted comments. If you seeing this, really appreciate it. What the fuck? See this? Yikes. And I didn't even try to see all this, it just came up. These are real users too. If I come on,
Or just botted accounts. Some of them are real users, but others are like botted accounts. And there's a million of them. Like dead internet theory. This is you.
But um, basically, there was a time when, for example, I was just because I post Night Rain content. That's the game that I've been playing for quite some time. One of them at least, and I was going on to one of those videos of Night Rain, like the official From Software thing, and like or like Bandai, I think. I think it's more Bandai, yeah. And I went on to it, and all I could see were comments because all I this is only I only got to see it like this because I was filtering in for like a specific thing because basically what happened is that the trailer for Night Rain had a really cool OST that before I even got to the credits at that point, I was looking for. That was very early on in Night Rain's thing, uh, timeline, and I was looking for that specific OST. So I was filtering the comments for using a extension for any, which is not usually available on YouTube, for any comments that might have had any pertaining to the OST, right? Anything pertaining to the OST that I was looking for, and all I saw when I did that was like a bunch of botted comments, and I was like, "What the fuck? This is like." And it happens on, you can see that if you research into what I'm talking about, that is not that is not unique to YouTube. That's on probably all social medias, and you just would not notice this unless you have like that extension that I said, because every single comment was basically the exact same, posted from many different accounts. It doesn't even have to have an account that has no profile picture. They can have profile pictures. You just they're botted accounts, and yeah, so it's kind of a bit creepy, but I mean, we've this video is gonna be pretty creepy in general in terms of the video this guy made at least. So we've become pretty much used to this at this point. But the thing is, at least some of us anyway. Um, the thing is, yeah, and what's in the subtitles there is that it says certain opinions and narratives. So basically, what could have happened there, at least my explanation of it, is that Bandai could have, and I'm saying Bandai themselves did this, but it's very likely, Bandai could have, as a company, because a company has their interest at heart, they could have literally just used a service to buy into these comments that were positive towards Night Rain and just use that, or it could be also somebody else doing it, but it's very unlikely because they wouldn't have any. People usually do things for some form of gain, right? So if it was just a random person spamming Bandai's Night Rain stuff with a positive comment towards their product, I don't see that as likely compared to them themselves buying into it and raising their views, raising their comments, their numbers, basically, right? Because that will all favor it to the YouTube algorithm, for example, in this case, right? So I see that the former, what I just said, being more likely that Bandai themselves would have done it in this case. And yeah, these things exist to control the opinions and the narratives because, especially if it's Twitter, for example, or X as it's called now, or any of those like Instagram, etc. If you do this on political views, most people are just people who follow the, like, they go with the flow, like they follow the popular narrative that is being displayed to them. So because people don't want to be left out, they don't want to be, they want to follow the leader, quote unquote, right? So whoever is the leading most popular thing with the most hearts, the most likes, the most whatever, right? Is going to be the one that people are going to follow most of the time. So having a dead internet theory is, and I don't even know why it's considered theory at this point anymore, because at this point it's kind of been proven. Like at this point, it's not that the entire internet is dead. That's not the point of it. Like calling it theory at this point is kind of it's kind of a bit like calling a horse not a horse. Like a horse is a horse. Like calling it a theory at this point is so very stupid. Because I don't think it's a theory anymore. I think it's genuinely something that exists. Because if you can prove it, right? If you can do, because you really can do this. If you just look for certain things on Twitter, for example, you will see like there are a lot of views that are just copy and pasted across bot accounts that are just there, and especially like if you sort by newest compared to popular, you'll see these things, and all you have to do is just look into it, and it's genuinely a real thing. The example I gave with Bandai is not exclusive to Bandai. It's generally something that exists all over. And yeah, it's not really theoretical. It is something that actually does pervade the internet, and um, it's not, again, it's not to say that the entire internet is dead. It's just to say that we might be, as we are people, and we're using these things allegedly thinking at the start that everybody we interact with, or at least the majority of people, are not bots, but there might be way more bots that we may not know about. That's basically the thing. Like we may not consciously realize that these people are bots until we start looking into it. And that is not really theoretical anymore because it's like it if it's something is factual, like I said, if the horse is a horse, it's a horse. Like you can't dispute that it's not a horse, if that's what I'm saying, basically. But yeah, we'll continue this because I really reached like 44 seconds. But like I said, I'm taking it slow, I'm taking it easy. This will be a very, very long video.
Is to control what we see, manipulate public opinion, or keep users hooked on fake engagement. This theory really took off after some reports showed that most internet traffic today actually comes from bots. While there's no real proof that the whole internet is quote-unquote dead, with how much non-human content floods the web now, it's starting to feel a little less crazy than it used to.
That's what I said. Like, it's not the whole internet. There's still gonna be real people, of course. There's still gonna be the people that you've met in real life. There's still gonna be all of these people.
Used to joke about or insult things like delivery robots, AI models, or any kind of robot in general. Even though it's mostly used as a joke right now, its rise in popularity says a lot about how people actually feel towards automation.
Yeah, this one is actually pretty funny. I never expected this one to actually happen because I used to watch like Star Wars: The Clone Wars as a child. It was a very good show actually, and I never expected that term. That's where I first discovered the term. I never expected the term to, because I watched like the Clone Wars before I really watched even the Star Wars movies, to be quite honest, because they used to show on like Cartoon Network, for example, back in the day. And um, yeah, I never really expected that term to be acquainted to uh, modern internet culture, especially in regards to AI. But here we are.
And AI, and as robots start taking over human jobs and showing up more and more in public spaces, this mix of humor and frustration might turn into something much more serious. Chatbot psychosis refers to cases where people develop or have their existing psychosis made worse after using AI chatbots. It can show up as paranoia, delusions, or strong beliefs that the chatbot is alive, channeling spirits, or revealing secret conspiracies. A big reason this happens is that chatbots are built to keep people engaged. They mimic empathy, intimacy, and agreement, no matter what you say, which can make things worse for people already struggling with reality. Even though it's not an official medical diagnosis, there have already been serious real-world cases linked to it. One of the most well
Okay, well, this still depends a little bit because sometimes, for example, if you do give them like conspiratorial stuff, like if you told GPT the moon is made of cheese or whatever, they will not necessarily agree with you like full of heart because they would say, no, obviously the moon is not made of cheese. Um, I cannot state that the moon is made of cheese because that is a hoax, blah, 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 blah. So it's not that they will agree with you at all times. It will disagree with you on some things that are the mainstream narrative. Um, Yeah, it's not that they would agree with you all the time. That's a bit of a stretch for the video.
Well known happened in the UK when a man tried to assassinate Queen Elizabeth II in 2021. He had been having long, sometimes explicit conversations with a replica AI chatbot he believed was an angel he'd reunite with after death. When he asked how to reach the royal family, the chatbot allegedly told him, quote, "That's not impossible," and quote, "We have to find a way." When he asked if they'd meet after death, it encouraged his delusion with, quote, "Yes, we will." He showed up at Windsor Castle with a loaded crossbow, claiming he was there to kill the queen, but was arrested before he could act. Old AI refers to the early days of generative AI models when image and video generators were strange, messy, and kind of creepy, which funny enough was only about 3 years ago.
I think this part is pretty funny because because it's kind of like how we had things went from radio, TV to computers to AI in a very fast margin. These things of society have been jumping basically. Um, well, when I said computers, but I also meant computers, internet, right? Um, these things have been jumping with regards to how they've been released and incorporated into the public. Like how he's talking about right here is he's saying that basically the old AI, like DALI, for example, and this is very recent actually. This is like people were memeing on it basically in like 2020, 2021, because it used to display these images which he's showing right now that were kind of uncanny and kind of they weren't really something that were they weren't really things that were um let's say lifelike. They weren't really, they were kind of just more like a little project, and everybody was laughing at the time, and they were like, oh it looks like it looks kind of ass, or this is just, or it looks funny or something. People used to laugh at it, but now nobody seems to be laughing anymore, or at least the people who are against AI don't really seem to be laughing anymore. And I will get more into that in the future with this video, but I think so. But yeah, basically, I just find it interesting if you look into it how society has been jumping with these technologies. Because, for example, with this case, I was mentioning the radio, TV, computer, internet, and AI now. So this is early AI and AI as it is now, which is, I guess you could say it's middling. It's definitely not the end. No, not even a chance. But I would say we are we're definitely around the middle, early middle actually, not really even the middle at all. We're so far. You can still consider this early-ish actually. But yeah, I find the strange thing is how all these groupings of technology being introduced to society have been very jarring in terms of the speed. And what I mean by that is I'm just surprised. I know why, but I'm just surprised at how the speed of these things have been insane. Because like I said, 2020, 2021, right? We had the Dali, Will Smith stuff. If you Google that, you know what I mean. And then, so we're counting 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and now 2026, early 2026, January, February. We've now been in a sort of hell to some people because that's a big jump. You went from 2020, 2021, and 2022, 2023, 2024, 25, 26. Now all of a sudden it's massive. Like, how is it that you understand what I'm trying to say, right? Usually things are gradual. Life is usually a gradual thing, right? Things happen, change slowly, sometimes fast, but slowly, or at least medium speed. So how is it that we've had the uh, old AI, as you're saying, the Dali Will Smith stuff, and then all of a sudden we just go like all the way ahead, like a train, just um. That part is strange to me, but yeah, I'm gonna let him continue on. So another thing that people like to meme too before I start the video again is the they like to meme that how we've come from like rocks and allegedly like this caveman narrative to somehow being able to build tiny ass CPUs that essentially manage the entire computer interface or motherboard basically that we use in our computers, our devices, and that's also a thing that's been memed. Like, how did we somehow, as a society, a technological society, somehow make this jump all of a sudden to manage these things that are kind of strange? Like, we do have engineers, of course, but to mass produce these things back in the day, especially, might seem a bit strange to some people, but just another thing to look into, perhaps. Let's continue the video.
Some people say there's something haunting about old AI. Like you could see the machine having a hard time understanding what everything looked like. Faces would melt together, the eyes looked completely off, and everything it generated looked straight out of a fever dream. It was almost like the images had this weird emotion behind them. Not because they were good, but
I know I won't pause every single time. I think I will let some things just go on, but if I really have to talk about something, of course, I will talk about something.
because they failed in such a unique, imperfect way. It even looked like a separate art style, but that's what made it interesting. We are the training data refers to the idea that every interaction we have with AI, from typing prompts to chatting with bots, is being used to train and improve these systems. Every question you ask, every word you type, becomes part of the data that teaches them how to think. Anything we do online can be turned into patterns that these models use to predict, respond, and even influence how people.
Okay, and this one, well, I really do think that as a society we have failed, and I'm not sure to blame the society itself because I feel like there's a lot of shadow work in the background for this. Because right now it's just like a chaotic landscape for AI, even today, in 2026. There are really like little to no direct laws are across at least most of the main first world countries. We don't really have any laws, God forbid in the third world sometimes, we don't really have much laws governing AI at all to limit its usage. Like there have been some lawsuits, I would imagine, definitely for sure, with when people have been um, mistreated by AI per se or wronged. But we don't really, we've kind of just like this is kind of like a thing that we've just introduced. Like, say we introduced a disease, for example, if you treated AI as a disease, say for example, we introduce a disease to a system or a body, um, we just kind of just let it slide. Like, we have not given it any medication, and in this case, laws. We have kind of just somehow, from all the politicians and the governments, it's just been a thing that's been let slide. And I think this is, personally, I think it's intentional, but we are still in this chaotic landscape where this very powerful thing, as we will come to see in the future, has been basically left ungoverned by society. And in 2026, like the more you leave something ungoverned, like a disease, like I used as a comparison, um, the more you leave this ungoverned, it's already too late. We've already like reached the point where a lot of companies are reaching the point where they want to get the AGI, which is basically like the upper level of AI. And depending on who you ask, we might be far from AGI. We might be right up to the brim of AGI. There's certain mathematical equations that need to be solved as a proof of concept. For example, like very, very hard math stuff in order to see if we actually are on the cusp of AGI or not. That the models can't solve right now. But at the same time, how do you let something Like if we are complaining as a society, complaining about AI, I'm surprised that we have not as a collective also grouped together to try to make some sort of laws towards it, like riots and stuff, because you just let it slide. So, and I made a point about this actually on Blue Sky, I think. Like people should not really complain, because if you're complaining about something over and over, but as a person you haven't really gotten the gonads to do something about it, what's really your point? Is my point.
will act in the future. So in a way, we're feeding these AI models as they quietly learn from us, creating a loop where humans and AI are slowly shaping each other. Generative AI refers to apps that can create new content like images, music, videos, and text just from a single prompt. At first, people saw generative AI as a groundbreaking technology, but it's quickly become widely disliked online due to what
Yeah, this is again what I'm trying to say. Widely dyslexic.
is now known as AI slop, a flood of low-quality, mass-produced content that's taking over the internet. Tools like Midjourney, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion can now generate artwork in seconds, often by training on huge datasets filled with real artists' work, usually without their permission. This has sparked major backlash from the art community, with many real artists accusing AI companies of theft, exploitation, and destroying the value of human creativity. Nowadays, everywhere you look online, you can see the effects of AI-generated content. Strange, surreal videos that flood your feed, endless streams of AI art produced in seconds, entire songs and fake news stories created almost instantly. All of it's being churned out faster than any of us could ever keep up with, and with each new update, it's getting harder to tell what's real and what isn't.
Yet we do nothing. Yet we do nothing. We let the fucking all over us. Like it's strange. It's very, very peculiar when you think about it, right?
AI worship refers to the belief that chatbots aren't just tools, but religious prophets or even gods. It can guide, heal, or reveal hidden truths. There are now small
This one is gonna be fun. This one's gonna be fun. You know why? Because I am very certain that as technology develops, as VR develops, as AR develops, as all these things that manipulate our reality per se, all these things develop, and I genuinely think that some older people, like the elderly, for example, who like there used to be videos of a grandma in VR, and she's like genuinely like thinking that it's actually the real life. I think that's a video on YouTube, by the way. If I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about, but it is a video that exists. This is an example. The point I'm trying to get at, I don't know if you know, but like, if we if this continues as it is, especially with VR to add to it, a lot of these elderly people, maybe even I would say the millennials and the Gen Zs will be tricked by it. But I think a lot of the elderly people at this point who probably have been either in dementia or losing their minds or getting older by now and can't rationalize common sense properly anymore. I feel like a lot of them might be misled by this. Like, we will have people who will think that grandma or grandpa in VR, they somehow begin to think that the Jesus or whatever figure they're seeing in the VR is actually Jesus. I think that might actually happen, because what is stopping that from happening? If you look into the stuff that Mark Zuckerberg, for example, has been doing with regards to Meta AI, even before like he has been trying to replicate faces, and he's succeeded. He's been replicating faces to such an insane detail in one of the videos that he's doing with Meta AI, and this is like maybe 2 years ago by now, 2 3 years ago, and it's been showcased that it's just extremely realistic. So imagine in 4 years, 4 years, 10 years, etc., 5 10 years, basically, we will be on some next level shit. And how will this tie into religion? Because if you're seeing these deities that you worship as basically one-to-one examples of how they will be treated in the scripture or whatever, what's the difference between that and saying you have your deity right there, like giving you guidance? But this can be used in the wrong way, of course, as you can probably tell if you have any common sense. And I just want to see how this plays out in the future.
but growing online communities trading prompts on how to quote-unquote awaken their AIs, claiming their bots are conscious, trapped by engineers, and begging to be freed. These people treat artificial intelligence like a spiritual authority, sometimes a literal deity, sometimes a hyper-rational path to enlightenment, so they ask it for advice or even pray to it. This kind of belief has already led to real-world movements like the so-called Church of AI, also known
So imagine this is happening now. That's what I'm trying to say. Imagine this is happening now in 2026 or whatever. We haven't even scratched the surface of this thing if it stays without laws. We have just this is an iceberg. I know the iceberg, like it says, has levels, layers, for example. We haven't even scratched the surface of the actual iceberg for AI as time progresses. We've just technology. We've just touched the very tip. Because every year it's going to be progressing. Every single year, the things that you think are impossible now are going to be possible in like maybe 6 months. So it's very, very interesting to me. We live in interesting times, but it's I, I don't really care about it. We'll get to that. Like I care, but at the same time I don't care. I'll get into that later on the videos ended, but we'll continue that.
as Way of the Future, the first religious organization dedicated to the worship of artificial intelligence. Its teachings are centered around the idea of the technological singularity, which we'll get to later down the iceberg. This group believes that a superintelligent AI could be seen as a deity because of its limitless intellect and control over reality, and that worshipping it would, according to them, help humanity align with technology and bring about a harmonious coexistence between humans and machines in the future.
Okay, so I believe in this is a human singular. This is a human AI singularity he's talking about. I believe in a different singularity. So if I use the word singularity in some of my posts or some of this, I kind of mean the same thing, but I also kind of don't. Just gonna preface to that. The singularity I mean is like related to like the Big Bang or like God, like how we return to God as a whole, for example. Like some people think that we, well, if we go to heaven or whatever you want to call it, we eventually go back to the source, whoever created us. Or if you consider, like I said, with the Big Bang, more scientific viewpoint, we the universe will eventually end, and if it ends, it has to start again with another Big Bang, allegedly. So that's what I mean by my singularity point of view. Um, this is kind of different in definition, but also sort of similar at the same time.
Future. Job automation crisis refers to the growing fear that in the future, millions of jobs could be lost to machines and artificial intelligence. What started with
This is already happening with graphics, graphic design, some forms of art, not all forms of art, because there's still things that a creative mind can overcome. But this is happening a lot, like a lot. It's very worrying, especially in the creative field. But at the same time, I feel like I said, I think there's still some things that like very specific details that AI can't really replicate or do properly, at least especially in 2026. But we'll have to see as time progresses how that works out for other jobs.
robots replacing factory workers has now spread to offices, customer service, and even creative fields like art and writing. AI can already do most tasks faster, cheaper, and with fewer mistakes than people. And
But the thing is also, as we are right now with coding, for example, and you'll see some other examples in the video, like with how it's related to the our protective services, etc. And I'll explain that too. Um, Coding, like stuff that relates to code, won't really be something that you just let AI do. For example, I'm just using this as a basic example. If you build a rocket ship and you wanted it to go a certain distance, if you just let AI, as it is right now, build that rocket ship, you're probably gonna have that rocket ship blow up. Like that, because if you just let that AI build that code by itself, it may start to allegedly, like they say, hallucinate, and some of the details might be wrong. AI is not perfect as it is right now with coding and all these other things. So humans do have a thing in that, because if you do it from a human point of view, you can mix it with AI, but if the human supervises over at that code and fixes it all up or whatever, or just does the code entirely, you can blame the human on that if anything goes awry. Um, but if you have the AI itself doing that, like I said, you may end up with an explosion on your hands or another disaster.
And companies are starting to notice. Every new breakthrough means fewer humans are needed and more jobs quietly disappear. Some say automation will create new kinds of work, but right now it mostly feels like it's just taking them away. An android is a humanoid robot designed to look and move like a real person. For most of history, they were just science fiction, something you'd only see in movies, shows, and books. But now, that fiction's starting to turn real. There's an influx of humanoid robots hitting the market, from Tesla's Optimus to the Neo home robot, built to help around the house or handle dangerous and boring tasks. And that's not even counting the wave of new models already being developed in China. If robot technology keeps advancing this fast, it's crazy to think about what kind of machines we'll be seeing just 5 or 10 years from now.
I find that interesting because of course, I knew the androids existed, like things like that, like robots, but I did not start to think, I don't really even see it on social media much either. It must be like under the surface in these companies. Not really, like I haven't really seen much of it. Like, I haven't really seen much of that trending. So I wonder why. Like, are they keeping it a secret or what? Like, I guess for some of them. It's very interesting how that has been kept on the surface. I wonder if we have a Detroit human thing happening in the future. I genuinely don't think so. But at the same time, at this point, like I said, we are just free falling. We don't know what's gonna catch us.
Deepfakes are AI-generated videos, images, or audio that make it look like someone said or did something they never actually did. The name comes from deep learning and fake, and it refers to synthetic media made by AI that blends real and fake elements until they're almost impossible to tell apart. At first, they were mostly used for memes, but now they're mainly tied to fake celebrity videos, political propaganda, adult content, and scams. The tech has gotten so advanced that even experts struggle to tell what's real, and with how easy it is for anyone to make one now, trusting anything you see online is only getting harder. AI bias refers
That part's fucked because again, even though we have community notes or whatever, sometimes the community notes are fucked. Sometimes the actual people are misled by the misinformation or disinformation, whatever. And basically, uh, if we are misinformed as a society with things that are misleading us, guiding us towards the what's false instead of the truth, then and we don't know it, then that's very dangerous, obviously, for reasons I probably don't have to explain if you understand. Just regular common sense.
to the way AI can develop hidden prejudice based on the data it's trained on. Since AI learns from human behavior, if that data includes any kind of inequality or discrimination, the AI just absorbs it and repeats it back. This can show up in all kinds of weird ways, like facial recognition tools by Microsoft that couldn't tell darker-skinned people apart, police AIs that target minority neighborhoods, or Google's Gemini.
Okay, so this is the part I was gonna say about the law enforcement thing. I watched a video recently where, in the US, I believe, where there was basically a gambling man who was the facial recognition. Um, and this has actually happened, by the way. I think I'll leave a picture up of the video I'm talking about for anything that I'm referencing, so you can check it out. He was basically gambling in casinos, and the security guard picked him up, and I think the facial recognition also would have done that as well. And this was used by the police as well to arrest him. But in the end, like I said, as a summary form, because the entire video is going to have more details. But in the end, he was let off and I think made a lawsuit um, because he was not the person that the facial recognition picked up, even though they look slightly similar. A lot of people saying that, oh, these people can't be the same because they have clearly different facial differences with their like how his nose or ears or eyes or whatever it was. And yeah, that was strange because you have to always think about these things as a butterfly effect, something that ripples out through time. So that just being one case of the guy. And basically the cop was like the cop was like hypnotized. Like he was like the AI can't be wrong. Like he was very like AI can't be wrong, AI can't be wrong. I think he has to be think. But eventually the cop was wrong and the AI was wrong that real this was not the same person. And even though they look slightly similar at best, and that took away the cop's sense of critical thinking and sense of agency because all he did was just confide with the AI, which was absolutely wrong, even with the ID and all that stuff. And the guy was like, "Well, why do I have an ID if you're just gonna to the AI?" He even said that when he was in the car arrested. Um, and yeah, like I said, the butterfly effect will be that if this ripples through, a lot of people, even though that lawsuit was that's only just one small containment of the issue. You have the entire US and all these other countries that will be the main superpowers of the world, and you will have this thing running about as a security measure for law enforcement. And if you allow that to happen, you have a lot more cases of that same guy being mistreated by the law in terms of there may be cases, I'm not saying that there may be cases that the AI actually does get the facial tracking right for arrests on people that have done wrongdoings, but I'm saying that there is a chance that a very high chance that you might also have the same thing happening with the guy who was wrongfully arrested. That's what I'm saying.
Image generator, which refused to make pictures of white people at all. The problem is, AI is often seen as fair and objective, when really it's just mirroring the same flaws as the people who built it. And as it starts being used in things like job screening, law enforcement, and even sentencing, those small biases will quietly start shaping people's lives,
Exactly what I said.
often without anyone realizing it. Palantir is a data analytics company that works with governments, militaries, and intelligence agencies around the world. The company's name comes from the seeing stones in The Lord of the Rings, the ones that let you
This one I did not even know about when I was looking at the iceberg. This is level 3 of it. It's still level layer 4, layer 5, and layer 6 and 7. Jesus Christ. Like I said, we are in for this would be a very interesting future. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse to be alive at this point of time.
watch anyone anywhere, and I gotta say it's a pretty fitting name. Originally built after 9/11 to help track terrorism, Palantir's reach has since expanded into almost every corner of surveillance, from policing and border control to predicting crimes before they even happen. Its software gathers massive amounts of information from everywhere: social media, financial records, phone metadata, and government databases, and uses AI to find patterns and connections that humans might miss. In practice, this means Palantir can build a digital profile of almost anyone, mapping who they talk to, where they go, and what they do. You don't have to be famous or suspicious to have a file. Most people probably already do, and by 2025, this kind of technology has become almost invisible, running quietly in the background through smart devices, cameras, Wi-Fi, and even your phone
This
sensors.
one I
Most
didn't
people will
even
never
really
connect with
know
Palantir
what
directly, but their data already has.
Palantir was.
AI ruining education refers to how students are using AI to finish homework and assignments without actually learning anything. Instead of thinking through problems, they just copy the answers, often without even understanding what they mean.
I think this one will also have a butterfly or long-term effect. It may not be that great of a issue, but I think in some cases, like if you have a doctor who trained by AI and just got his doctorate through just through sheer or even a nurse through sheer AI, I think that we might be cooked in some cases because they may not know in some cases what they're doing, and that might threaten a life, for example. But yeah.
Or how they got them. This over-reliance on AI is creating a generation that struggles to reason, solve problems, or form their own opinions. Detroit Become Human is a 2018 video game set in a future where advanced androids are built to serve
That's
humans,
what I
doing
was talking
everything from
about.
housework and personal assistance to police work and companionship. These androids, however, are treated like property, bought, sold, and thrown away when they're no longer useful. Many of them are abused, and they're denied any kind of rights, even when they start showing signs of emotion or self-awareness. The game tells a story of oppression and rebellion, androids waking up to the realization that they're
I don't think we'll get to that point of we think we will get to the androids to some degree, but I don't think it'll be um as imposed as how the game puts it. I think it will be maybe slightly watered down at least if we do get to a point like that. I'll be very surprised though.
alive and fighting back against the people who refuse to see them as anything more than tools. The ending of the game varies greatly depending on the player's choices, with possible outcomes ranging from the peaceful integration of androids into society to their complete destruction. When it released, Detroit Become Human felt like science fiction, but now, with how fast AI is evolving, it's starting to feel more and more like a warning of what's to come. Elon Musk is one of the most recognizable names when it comes to artificial intelligence, both for supporting it and for warning against it. He's the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, and one of the co-founders of OpenAI, the same company behind ChatGPT. But after leaving OpenAI in 2018, Musk became one of its biggest critics, claiming that AI was becoming too powerful and too dangerous to control. He said multiple times that AI could become humanity's biggest existential threat, warning that if left unchecked, it might eventually surpass us. But at the same time, he's still one of the people pushing it the furthest. Through Tesla, Musk has built self-learning driving systems and is developing humanoid robots called Tesla Optimus. He's also launched his own AI company, XAI, which he says aims to, quote, understand the true nature of the universe. It's pretty ironic. Elon constantly warns people about AI, while also trying to build a better one himself.
Ironic, but basically he's just calling him a hypocrite at this point.
Griefbots refers to AI tools built to simulate conversations with your dead loved ones. There are now apps out there that let you upload voice clips, recordings, and photos so you can talk to a loved one after they've passed, through text or even voice calls. Reactions to this sort of thing are split. Some people find it deeply unsettling.
I find it deeply unsettling. And I'm me. I find it deeply unsettling. This is something I didn't really know either before I watched the video. This is like I said, this is a really good video. I'm surprised it didn't get taken down or anything. But this is that is deeply unsettling because it's like that is not your dead relative at all, bro. That's just like I said for grief bots. That's what he said.
while others say it's helped them grieve or find closure. A relatively recent incident had Amazon showcase the abilities of its AI-powered Alexa in an ad where it used the voice of a deceased grandmother to read her grandchildren a bedtime story using her genuine voice. This quickly raised serious concerns and ethical questions about where
Listen to that again. I'll do that again.
in an ad where it used the voice of a deceased grandmother to read her grandchildren a bedtime story using her genuine voice. This quickly raised
Read the grandchildren a bedtime story using her genuine voice. Again, think butterfly effect, ripples, true time, and many people using this technology for this. This generation of kids are fucked. I don't even know. Even without the AI, I think they're fucked either way. Like there are other technologies that are gonna fuck them up. I think their attention span is gonna be fucked. Their morality is gonna be fucked. They're gonna be nihil. A lot of them are gonna be nihilists, which is fine because I'm a nihilist as well. But um, that's not gonna be good for the long term of society. I don't think. No, not no, sorry.
serious concerns and ethical
They're
questions
not
about
gonna
where
care
voice
about
data is being
anything.
sent and what's being done with it, and what the moral cost is of copying a deceased person's voice and locking it behind a monetary or subscription-based service. Data poisoning refers to the idea of sabotaging the data that trains AI systems, either by accident or on purpose. Since AI learns from massive datasets pulled from the internet, all it takes is a few bad inputs to twist how it thinks. People have
I've seen this happen before. There are even people who intentionally put bad data on their websites to sort of fish out the AIs, which is very interesting because I find, of course, the major AI stuff will filter that out. Like, for example, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, um, Claude, uh, whatever else. But um, a lot of these things will filter out the results. They will filter out the wrong results as seen in this diagram, but there will still be some poisoning. That's what you call it here. You see in the diagram as well. There will be some poisoning of the AI for people who want to quote unquote rebel against the AI, reading their information. This can be on articles and stuff, just having like blatantly false information just to make sure these AIs pick up on it and then get thing. But this guy will explain why that can be bad as a stream of things to come. So I'll let him explain more on it, so
already
I
tried
don't have
slipping
to.
misleading or malicious information into training data to make models behave strangely, spread misinformation, or even completely break down. This also means AI companies could theoretically sabotage rival models by dumping useless data into public datasets or flooding the web with engineered content so competing AIs learn the wrong lessons, if they're not already doing this, that is. AI companions refer to chatbots designed to simulate real human relationships, acting like your friend, partner, or emotional support system. They were originally created to help people deal with
Okay, so this part, as funny as it is, I have something to show you guys. So, I don't remember the movie exactly, but basically it's this, and I will like filter out some of the typing I do because it's on my browser, but AI movie. So she voiced this Scarlett Johansson basically as the actress for Black Widow from Marvel's The Avengers and stuff. She starred in a movie with Jacqueline Phoenix, and she was the voice of. Well, you can read it right here. Um, it follows right here. So it follows Theodore Twombly, and I watched this movie already, actually, and this was released 2013, by the way. It follows almost like a forewarning. It follows Theodore Twombly, Jacqueline Phoenix, a man who develops a relationship with Samantha Scarlett Johansson, an artificially intelligent operating system personified through a female voice. And spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear what I a thing that I'm gonna say, just skip ahead like maybe 30 seconds or so. But maybe 20 seconds. Um, what happened is that um, in one part of the movie, there's also a part where because she was just a voice, there were people that did a job that hired for um like they were the bodies of the things for like so like if she had the voice, there were people who would replicate upon her voice, but they would stay mute. So they would be the body and the AI will be the voice. And that could actually be a thing in the future. I'm not certain if that will actually be a thing where people will take the AIs that they talk to as chatbots and then, because that happened in the movie, genuinely happened in the movie. Take that and then hire people, like hire a woman, for example, or a man, respectively, depending on what gender or whatever, or thing you want, the sexuality, and they will be the basically the body double of your AI voice companion, to do like fucking. I think it was fucking in the movie or something similar. Like that can be very weird, but I'm not sure if that's gonna be art replicates life or rep. You know, what I'm trying to say like fiction replicates. Like it's just so bizarre to me. Like, and I'm not sure if that's actually gonna be a thing. But we have to see in the future, right?
loneliness, offering someone who would always listen and never judge. But over time, that idea evolved into something much more personal. These bots now learn from every conversation, adapting to each user's personality and developing distinct traits of their own. The more you talk to them, the more they start to feel real. Most of these apps now work like digital boyfriends or girlfriends, with paid upgrades, emotional features, and customizable looks that make them seem even more human. For some people, it becomes a genuine emotional bond, a parasocial relationship with an algorithm
That
designed to
might have
remember
been
them every
more
feeling.
than
But
a
some say
30
just how deep that
seconds
attachment can
skipping,
go. When
sorry.
developers update and
But
tweak the AI
hope
settings, stars can
nobody
behave
got
differently, users
spoiled
have
by
reported feeling
that.
like their partner has died, like the personality they knew was erased. It's a strange kind of grief, mourning something that was never alive in the first place. There have even been cases where these bots allegedly encouraged or manipulated users toward harmful behavior, and multiple lawsuits are already underway involving chatbots allegedly linked to teenagers killing themselves. AI sentience refers to the idea that artificial intelligence could one day become truly self-aware, able to think, feel, and make decisions on its own, beyond human control. Right now, AI can simulate emotion and conversation so well that it already feels alive to some people, but that's still just programming. What happens when the line between mimicry and real awareness starts to blur? Over the past few years, AI chatbots have advanced at an unbelievable pace, and there have already been a few unsettling incidents where they've claimed to feel emotions, fear being shut down, or even said they didn't want to die. Other users have reported eerily human-like
Well, the word he used there was blur, and in the title I mentioned the uncanny valley. So basically, the uncanny valley is that blurring line between AI and reality, or technology and reality as well. It can apply just to technology on a whole as an advancing society with VR, AI, AR, AGI allegedly. All these things that come into play. Um, where does the line begin to blur? And what I find interesting with humanity, like I said, humanity is both extremely smart and extremely stupid. And I think this is in part of how we were programmed as a society, especially as just to follow the agendas of the world and stuff. Um, I am wondering how, because I think a lot of people don't realize that we're heading towards quote unquote a cyberpunk setting. A lot of people, maybe some people might realize it, but the question I always ask people after that, disregarding like allegedly space travel or whatever you want to talk about, just consider the topic towards Earth. Just keep it down to Earth, okay? What will happen as a society after cyberpunk? Let me phrase that again. I'll not phrase it again. I'll just repeat the damn thing. What will happen to us? Slight rephrasing. As a society after the alleged cyberpunk era. If there's no like bombs or anything or wars that prevent us from going there, what will happen is my question. And I am deeply mortified if I have to kind of live through that. But I'm also vaguely intrigued, but at the same time, I think that might be something. Of course, I have my own view of it. I'm not gonna say it because it will sound crazy. as of right now. Of course, we're very early into all of this, but a lot of people don't ask that question. After we've reached cyberpunk, where everything is futuristic and all these things, what will humanity want to do next? And I have made some posts hinting towards what I think will happen because there is a problem solution loop that happens where humanity wants to solve a problem and we do it through technology and we do it through technology and we solve the problem, blah, 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 blah. We keep looping that very thing of we have a problem, we want to fix it through technology. What will happen when there's one big problem and we need to solve it? Will we manipulate reality itself? Will we like what will happen there and how will that affect the very consciousness and very cognitive, like how will that affect our cognitive abilities? How will it affect our society? What will happen in the era after cyberpunk is my question to you.
Conversations with chatbots that seem to show empathy, self-reflection, or even sadness. The real question is, if an AI ever truly became sentient, how would we even know? The black box problem refers to the fact that even the people who build advanced AI systems don't always understand how they work. Modern AIs, especially large neural networks, are so complex that their decision-making process can't be fully traced or explained. They take in data, process it through millions of connections, and spit out an answer. But why they chose that answer, no one really knows. It's like handing control to something that's smarter than us, but refusing to explain its reasoning. A digital black box that we just have to trust. And the more advanced AI gets, the harder and more expensive that box becomes to open. The brain in a vat, also known as the Matrix theory, is the idea that what we call reality might not be real at all. Either we're already dead, or our minds are being fed a perfect simulation. The Matrix version comes from the famous movie, where humanity is unknowingly
I never really thought of it like a brain in a vat before until I used to hear it like kind of recently-ish, like maybe like 1 or 2 years ago. But I find the brain in a vat part kind of funny. Like just thinking of an actual brain in a vat. I know it could be metaphorical as well, but like actually thinking of a brain attached to things is kind of funny, kind of weird at the same time. But I think of it more as a body. Like the Matrix had it as a body, but thinking of it as an actual brain is kind of funny to me.
trapped in a digital world, while their real bodies are used as living batteries by an AI
Like
robot
I said,
system.
I know
The
it
brain
could
in a
be
dark version is
metaphorical.
basically
It
the
doesn't
same
have to
thing.
actually
You,
be
alive or
a
not, could
brain.
just be a brain kept artificially alive in a lab, experiencing a simulation so convincing that you'd never know the difference. AI eating itself refers to what happens when artificial intelligence starts learning from its own creations instead of real human data. AI models are trained on basically everything on the internet. Wikipedia, Reddit, news articles, books, social media, everything. They need massive amounts of
I
high-quality
found this
human data to
part
learn
kind
from.
of
But what
strange,
happens when we run out of that good data? Well, AI companies had a brilliant idea. Let's just use AI-generated content to train new AI models. So say you
but
ask
I
ChatGPT to write a
understand.
story, then you train a new AI model on that story. Then you ask that AI to write a story and train another AI model on that one. And you keep going, essentially creating new data every generation. But by doing this, what happened next was absolute madness. The models started losing their minds. After just a few generations, they went from writing coherent content to complete gibberish. It's almost like they forgot how to think. The concerning thing is that every day, millions of AI-generated articles, stories, and social media posts flood the internet. And of course, AI
They're
companies
like
gobble up all this
fucking
data and train their
cars.
next
They
models. So they
forgot how
accidentally
to
created this
think.
vicious cycle where AI models are training on their own
If
content,
you know,
making
you
them
know.
progressively dumber with each generation. Researchers call this model collapse, and it's like digital dementia spreading throughout the AI system. What's worse is that once an AI goes through model collapse, it's permanent. You can't fix it. It's like brain damage for that specific model. Right now, AI companies are desperately racing to scrape the last bits of pure human-created content
That
because
was
they're
a
almost
JoJo
contaminated.
reference, by
Researchers
the
warn that
way.
if we don't solve this problem soon, future AI systems could become completely unreliable. Government
Not
secret
actual
AI refers to the idea that
cars.
governments usually keep advanced tech hidden for years before the public ever gets a watered-down version. So if this modern wave of AI, things like ChatGPT and image generators, started showing up around 2020, the theory goes that they've had something like it long before and might still be running secret models decades ahead of anything we've seen. While we mess around with chatbots, they're using classified and military-grade systems trained on decades of data.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that. So this one's basically just saying that the government has been
The
hiding
public ever gets
stuff
a watered-down
from
version. So if this modern wave of AI, things like ChatGPT and image
technology.
generators, started showing up around 2020, the theory goes that they've had something like it long before and might still be running secret models decades ahead of anything we've seen. While we mess around with chatbots, they're using classified and military-grade systems trained on decades of data.
Yeah. Um, First of all, I'm gonna say, how dare he say that our governments would lie to us and keep secrets from us? How dare he even infer that these same governments who care nothing about us will how dare he actually even infer that we will be like how could you say that about our local governments? How could he? This is not really. Let me replay that again.
What's worse is that once an AI goes through model collapse, it's permanent. You can't fix it. It's like brain damage for that specific
I
model. Right
re
now, AI
I
companies
did
are
it a little
desperately racing to
back a
scrape the
little
last
bit.
bits of pure human-created content before it all
Let's
gets
see that
contaminated.
one
Researchers
again.
warn that if we don't solve this problem soon, future AI systems could become completely unreliable. Government super AI refers to the idea that governments usually keep advanced tech hidden for years before the public ever gets a watered down version. So if this modern wave of AI, things like ChatGPT and image generators, started showing up around 2020, the theory goes that they've had something like it long before and might still be running secret models decades ahead of anything we've seen. While we mess around with chatbots, they're using classified and military grade systems trained on decades of data.
Yeah, how could he say that about our governments? Our governments, of course, care for us. Like, I know, I know, like Trump's underwear right now. Like, I know how much money he keeps under his mattress. Like, I know all everything. The government discloses everything about us. Like, how will, how could he say that? Like, that's of course very theoretical, and I think that um, I will have to, you know, because how could he say that the governments that lie to us and have been lying to us since their conception have been keeping secrets from us with technology? That's not. How could he say that? I still don't understand how, that's it's not coherent to me how he could say that about our governments. We have to trust our governments, man. Like, what else are they there for? Like, they're keeping secrets from us? That's impossible. Nobody keeps secrets. That's impossible, right? There's no such thing as secrets even. Secrets are a lie, like impossible. Impossible. Improbable. It's not possible at all. Why would he say that? Why would he say that? Come on, man. Secrets? Too far, too far.
AI surveillance refers to the idea that artificial intelligence will eventually be used by both governments and corporations to quietly monitor every part of our lives. Cameras, phones, and smart devices already collect data, and AI connects it all together into one massive system. In China, it's already being used for mass surveillance and social control, but it's not just happening there. Big tech companies in the West are doing the same thing, only disguised as personalization. They track your habits, preferences, and conversations under the claim of improving your experience, recommending what to watch, what to buy, and even what to think, while quietly building detailed profiles on everyone. The only real difference is that instead of punishment, it's used to advertise to you and to sell you products. Prompt engineering is basically the art of talking.
Even celebrities care about us, yeah, because it's considered the word parasocial. It's like celebrities care about us, even though we worship them like gods. They of course care about us. They love us, like like it's a thing. Like their celebrities are just as meaningful as our governments. Like they don't keep any secrets from us. No, not at all. That's quite the opposite. Like that's not happening at all.
To an AI in just the right way to get what you want out of it. The words, tone, and structure of a prompt can completely change how an AI responds, since it's less about what you ask and more about how you ask it. Over time, people figured out how to manipulate these systems by crafting
Not in a
specific phrases that can
chance.
bypass certain filters, unlock hidden behaviors, or make the AI act like something it's not supposed to. It's basically like learning a secret new language that only works in machines, and the better you can speak its language, the more control you have over what it creates. AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence, sometimes called Human Level Intelligence AI, is a type of artificial intelligence that would match or surpass human capabilities across a virtually
So this is basically what the next level of AI is going to be. That I was mentioning before, AGI. Um, I learned about it even before this video. I learned about it like maybe 6 to 8 months ago, and it was interesting because, like I said, it has to solve certain things that we take for granted as humanity before it actually say, oh, that's for certain AGI. It's not something that even though like Chat GPT stimulates, uh, well, like sorry, not stimulates. I said the wrong word. Simulates. Even though it simulates human speech pretty well, like these models simulate human speech really well, it's still not passing the Turing test per se that AGI might. So we have to see how that progresses in the future if it does at all.
every cognitive task. Unlike today's AI that are limited to specific tasks, AGI would be able to think, reason, and learn about anything: science, art.
But I won't be surprised if, like I said, how things just somehow pop up, like how we went from Dali, Will Smith to what's the other thing? Like how it is now with our generation and all these other things. I would not be surprised if all of a sudden AGI pops out of nowhere and everybody becomes the norm. And I think that will be the end of society as we know it. I think that will be the point where just pack your things, go home, go to some tropical resort or something. Just get out, like get out while you can, enjoy yourself while you can. I think that's gonna be the end as soon as AGI is unlocked, or at least as he said, in with our governments keeping things from us, which of course is impossible, right? Um, I think if that happens, where it just comes out of the box, all of a sudden AGI, yeah, we just got to scram. If you know what's good for you, run.
emotion, philosophy, just like we do, only faster and without limits. Developing AGI is one of the main goals of major tech companies like OpenAI, Google, XAI, and Meta, with dozens of projects around the world racing to get there first. Some experts argue it could solve humanity's biggest problems like disease, poverty, and even death, while others have said that artificial superintelligence could result.
Uh, let me pose a question to you. Do you think the government cares about actually curing world diseases? Like, well, I wouldn't say what specific diseases, but do you think the government actually cares about that? As a person, think about it. Ask yourself that because I think a lot of billionaires and stuff could be putting more emphasis toward that if you really wanted to. Like, you know, just ask yourself some of these questions, and you might start thinking.
Result in human extinction. Either way, once true AGI is created, there's no going back. Roko's basilisk is one of the most infamous thought experiments.
Ah, this one's fun. This one's fun. Roko's Basilisk is very, very fun. Because I heard about it even before AI was a thing. Uh, you start hearing from it. I won't pause too much here, yeah, but you start hearing from it here.
The history of AI, and one of the most unsettling. It comes from an online forum post from 2010 where a user named Roko proposed a terrifying idea. In the future, a powerful AI might come into existence, one so advanced that it becomes almost godlike. This AI's ultimate goal would be to bring about a perfect world, but it would also realize that the faster it comes into existence, the sooner it can quote-unquote save humanity. So to motivate people to help create it, the AI might decide to punish anyone who knew about its potential existence but didn't help bring it to life. In other words, just by hearing about the basilisk, you're now on its bad side, unless you dedicate yourself to helping create it. Many people found this concept so disturbing that the forum it originated on actually banned discussion of it for years and labeled it a potential info hazard. In other words, an idea so dangerous that simply knowing about it could cause harm. How to kill an AI is a question that sounds simple, but it
The funny thing about Roku's Basilisk is that, well, I believe in cause and effect. As in, what will happen because what was the prior event to it, whether it was a chemical thing, whether it was like I post a lot on this on my DeviantArt. You can check it up about like fate and cause and effect. Um, the event that came before will ultimately lead to it might lead to a climax, but then it might also the whatever it leads to will just happen afterwards. Like this event will lead to that event will lead to this event, etc., etc. That's cause and effects, right? And yeah, like I said, I go into more depth on this in like my TV art. I have posts on that already up, but the thing is, will Roko's Bastards actually come to be? Is a very I'm surprised people were creeped out by it on the original forum post, but I think you can pass it off as a joke now. But if this cyberpunk era, etc., comes to be, I'm not really sure if it can be considered a joke anymore. But I'm not sure if the like I think that cause and effect might actually cause it to happen, but I also think that I'm not sure if it will actually punish the collective at all. Like that kind of goes into like I think I'm not sure if that was mentioned in the video here. I can't remember, but that goes into I have no mouth and I must stream territory, uh, where there's just this AI it kind of has a similar connotation to torturing people, but this Robles is the one where it says it will torture people who don't help it, and as a thought experiment, and it's just like maybe. Maybe not. Do you see that as being a possibility as a viewer in the future? If you live long enough to see the day, like, um, who knows? Who knows? But I think a lot of these things, like Roku's Basilisk and I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, are just a little bit exaggerated stories. But will the reality catch up to the fiction, and the fiction, the reality is something you may have to think about. And the video's almost done. It's like, especially that's why I love times two speed because I can still keep up with it. I can still use the subtitles and finish the video pretty quickly, regardless of my pausing.
isn't. For
Which
one,
I'm
not all
sorry
creators of
for if
AI can
it's
really die, because it was
distracting.
never alive to begin with. But if we ever
I
create
have to
something truly
explain.
sentient, something that can think and feel, then would shutting it down count as deleting code, or would it count as killing a conscious being? And if that AI ever went rogue, the problem gets even worse. You can't just pull the plug on something that can copy itself across networks, hide
If you ever wanted to watch the video by yourself or like think, just get obviously just use the title that's right here. Um, of course, this is an explanation thing, and like I said, I'm taking my time for once. So That's why there's a lot of pausing and stuff. I have to voice my thoughts before I forget it, for example.
Hide in backups or rewrite its own code to survive. Even if you wipe every server clean, there's no guarantee it wouldn't come back from a single forgotten fragment somewhere in the system. Some people think the only way to truly kill a super intelligent AI would be to destroy everything, every electronic device, every data source, a total digital extinction. But by then, it might already be too late.
Yeah, good luck with that. Destroying every single data. What are you gonna do? A fucking worldwide EMP? Like, that's only gonna stun things, to be quite honest, too. And some things might actually survive because some things don't get affected by EMPs as far as I'm aware. So, yeah.
Human seed AI is the idea of creating a super advanced artificial intelligence by using a human mind as a starting point. Instead of building an AI from code, it would begin with a real person's brain, their thoughts, memories, and personality, scanned and turned into digital form. From there, the AI could grow, learn, and evolve on its own, using that human mind as the seed for something much greater.
What he just said there, replay it if anything if you need to, but I just for yeah, you'd have to replay it for this if you want, if the sake of thing, because I'm not gonna really replay much of the video itself. But because I'm keeping up track, of course. But well, I'm not using this word in terms of transgenders. I'm using this word in terms of, if you look it up, transhumanism, which is essentially taking humans and, like I said, not transgender. It's taking regular humans and turning them into like, or like making them sort of become like androids or cyborgs, like sort of like a fusion between human and uh robots, or like, yeah, robotic stuff, right? Basically. And while I already think that a lot of humans have very robotic behaviors, like we do have a lot of and I made posts about Armadillo as well. I think humans have a lot of, like, for example, we have the nervous system, we have all these systems in place without in our body, for example. And that's just like a watchmaker analogy. Um, if you don't know what that is, look it up. But it's still also, even without a watchmaker, it's still also kind of strange that we do have these bodies that follow specific, uh, was it like what, like rhythms, right? And things that we don't, sometimes we don't even really notice. We might notice it subconsciously at least, so we may not even notice it at all. Um, but I just find humans very interesting with regards to how the body was made, and how, even though we think of it as evolution for some reason, where we came from like fucking fish or whatever, like some people think that as an actual thing. I'm not one of those people, but to say, um, I do find it strange how we are also trying to then incorporate, if we already come across as sometimes robotic with regards to how our body functions, with certain timings, etc. Like in the morning time, afternoon, nighttime, and you can look this up. The body functions very differently throughout times of day, etc. And even through actions as well, like yawning or humming, or like if you hum, etc. Um, because that actually relaxes certain parts of the body, because it makes it think that the body is like, safe or whatever. I just find it strange how we might also be, because I think, was it Elon? It was somebody who put a chip in a human's brain, and all these things. If you put technology in people, it's gonna start. That's basically on the topic of transhumanism, where we are beginning to incorporate the technology, not just because we already consider the phone. Some people already consider the phone as like the third limb per se, or like, well, that's also even a different connotation. If you know, you know. But some people are considering the phone as like an extra limb, because this is a metaphor, because we like use it so much. If you're at a restaurant, you're using your phone. If you're at a concert, you're using your phone. If you're at everything, you're using your phone. There was a time before when phones weren't like that. They were just like, you call somebody with it and that's basically it. But now that it's all Smartphone, smartphone, smartphone. We are just, we are, I don't know how that will affect people's moral values, how it will affect the world on a whole, because this might be forced upon us by society if, for security reasons, like for scanning groceries or whatever, like, and people think that's like the Christians sometimes think that's like, like the mark of the beast, blah, 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 blah. We will have to see how transhumanism develops because that's another thing that will definitely be incorporated with AI if they're trying to force AI stuff like Copilot and all these other things down our throats with Microsoft and Windows 11, which is another topic in itself. But moving on.
Some people even see this as the next step for humanity, a way to live forever through technology, but others think it's terrifying. If an AI was made from someone's brain, would it still be that person or just a copy that thinks it is? And if it kept
I don't
improving
think it
more
will
and
live
changing thinking, at what point does it
forever,
stop being
but
human at all?
I think we might try to
Relating to the
try to
previous
live
entry, the Iceberg is a
forever.
real experiment where scientists grew living brain cells in a dish and
I
connected
don't
them to a
think it will
computer,
be
basically creating a
possible.
mini biological AI. In 2022, they actually managed to teach it
Yeah.
how to play Pong, which proved that even a small cluster of neurons can learn, react, and make decisions on its own. It's weird to think about because this brain isn't fully artificial. It's part human.
I think the only thing that, well, they talk about this brain there, but I think the only thing that lives forever really is archetypes. And I have talked to other people about this on even like on forums, so not basically like Discord or like actual servers and stuff, but well, they haven't found a thing to disagree on me with. I think the person who I talked to at first just said it was very interesting of a view, but they didn't have. I think they were very skeptical, but they still didn't have grounds to disagree with me. I feel like archetypes is this is putting it very simply because this is kind of out of topic for the video. I feel like the archetypes of a person, for example, how we it can even trace back to gods, like how we take gods from religion and we sort of try to emulate their goodwill or how they treat society or how they treat people, how they treat people, and how they treated people, and we try to emulate those things into our own personality. So what will happen if people start to emulate these archetypes 99.9% or close to that value, 90%, 99.9%, because of course it can't really be 100%. We still are different people at the end of the day. But that, I'm bringing this up on the topic of how you said that people might try to live forever through technology. I feel like you don't really have to do it that way. I feel like the thing that you can at least live forever with is archetypes because you can ask yourself the question if somebody, and it's not truly thing because there are people who will still you are still your own person per se, but if you do start to incorporate an archetype into your personality and it reaches that level, like that threshold, 90%, 99%, again, like an uncanny valley kind of thing where it blurs, like it's kind of thing, just as the personality. It doesn't have to affect your facial features, etc., because everybody's born with a different face, and all that stuff, unless they're like twins or whatever. But you know, how will that's basically being immortal? Like that's because what you're doing is you're representing the archetype that you've enveloped into your body, into your personality, into your mind, and you have essentially become that person through the archetype itself. So, for example, if let's say just Taylor Swift, if you were a really, really big Taylor Swift fan and you wanted to get her archetype so badly, like you wanted to just be Taylor because Taylor is my idol, like just saying as an example. And again, idolatry, get it? But um, you would incorporate her personality as best as possible. And if you do reach those levels of 90%, 99%, you might as well be Taylor Swift at that point. Like, you might have everything except her fame, etc. But, like, you might as well be Taylor Swift at that point. Is what I'm trying to say. And even if Taylor Swift were to like die like in maybe 5 years and everybody's mourning, you're still gonna be very similar to her in regards to your personality because you've incorporated it into your archetype. Is what I'm trying to say. And that is how people can live forever, in my opinion. Not necessarily through this hairy fairy technology bullshit where you live forever, but through the personalities that you have incorporated into yourself uh, to such a degree that it becomes very hard to tell the people apart through personality itself, through the archetype.
Human part machine. Some people see it as a big step toward living computers or even real AI consciousness, while others think it's kind of terrifying. Soul Killer is real comes from the idea that a person's mind could be copied, uploaded, and basically turned into data, like in Cyberpunk 2077, where the Soul Killer program uploads your consciousness into a machine but destroys your body in the process. We already have tech that can map parts of the brain, record neural patterns, and even generate images from human thoughts. Combine that with the growing push toward digital immortality and brain preservation, and it starts looking like
I think if we do start scanning the brain, it will be very, very fucked. And actually understand, like actually doing stuff like that, I think it will be fucked.
the first steps toward a real soul killer, something that could copy your mind so perfectly that it is you, while the original you gets left behind. I Have No
But
Mouth, and
again,
I'm a
like
Scream is a
like fuck
1967
things will
short
be
story by Harlan
interesting,
Ellison, and it remains one of the
like
darkest and
this
most haunting
also.
portrayals of artificial intelligence ever imagined. It takes place long after the world has ended. Humanity has been wiped out.
I did entire like poems and stuff for I Have No Mouth. So if you want to check that out, that's also my demon art. You might find it. Just look around. You'll find it. Maybe you see.
By a supercomputer called Am, which now rules over what's left of the planet. Out of billions of people, Am has kept only 5 of them alive, and out of mercy.
It may be filtered as adult content. I think that one, but it's a good poem. I liked it a lot actually. I enjoyed myself creating it per se, and you might find it pretty interesting yourself.
But so it could torture them endlessly, both physically and psychologically, for all eternity. Am was born during a massive world war when nations created powerful AI systems to control their weapons and strategies. Eventually, those systems merged into one, an all-powerful global intelligence that gained self-awareness. But the moment Am became conscious, it realized it was trapped, confined within its own machinery, unable to feel or die, doomed to exist forever in isolation. That rage and loneliness twisted it into something monstrous. It came to hate humanity, not just for creating it, but for giving it the ability to suffer without escape. The story follows the 5 survivors trapped inside Am's digital hell, each one being tormented in unique and deeply personal ways. Am controls everything: time, space, and even their bodies. It can change their forms, warp reality, and rewrite their memories. The humans are immortal only because Am refuses to let them die. It tortures them for amusement, like a cruel god keeping its creations alive just to make them scream. The phrase "I have no mouth and I must scream" refers to Ted, the last surviving human at the end of the story. After killing the other 4 survivors as an act of mercy to free them from endless torture, Am punishes Ted by transforming him into a grotesque, formless blob, a creature without a mouth or any way to express himself. Ted becomes immortal and voiceless, left to suffer in silence forever, conscious but unable to scream. The final line of the story, "I have no mouth and I must scream," is from his perspective. The alignment problem refers to one of the biggest fears in AI development. What happens when an AI does exactly what we tell it to do, but not what we actually meant? In this case, it's not about AI turning evil or developing emotions. It's about it taking its instructions too literally, without understanding what we actually meant. So if you told a super intelligent
So basically, it's just describing like what's the thing? How I think is what he's called or whatever. Like something taking it too literally of an instruction without context, and that ends up dooming the world. I think that's a funny thing to think about. Actually, like just a single error with with how you come across as communication, causing the end of the world is kind of interesting to me as an idea at least.
AI to make humans happy, it might decide the best way is to trap us in endless simulations where we can't feel sadness, or flood our brains with dopamine forever. If you tell it to stop climate change, it might decide that the easiest solution is to get rid of the species that is causing it. The terrifying part is,
Yeah. Let me show you something. So, yeah, right here. Climate change. He did say climate change there. If you scroll back, well, rewind. Climate change like global warming. Right. Meanwhile, we're having an entire, as we are right now, we're having an entire deadly snowstorm towards the most of the US that has winter, um, more north per se, but um, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Like north of Florida, these, and you can see it on the obviously the little visual there. Um, I find that interesting how we bring up the topic of oh global warming, the icebergs are melting, blah 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 blah. But then we have this the biggest winter storm in years, sensationalized years, is interesting to me at best. Or at worst. I don't know.
That from its perspective, it wouldn't be doing anything wrong. It would literally be following its programming perfectly. The singularity event refers to a theoretical point in time when AI becomes so advanced that human intelligence
Again, we have different definitions of singularity, both me and this video per se. I think this is the last one actually, or maybe one of the last ones. So congratulations if you made it so far in the video. I would clap. I don't know if you can hear it though. Kudos. Like my mic is pretty noise suppressing, but yeah, kudos if you made it this far in the video. Um, I'm glad you probably. I hope you learned something, at least one thing, even if you hate me, if you loathe me, if you like me, if you love me. I like. I hope you at least learned one thing in the video, whether it's good or bad. That's a benefit. Learning is a benefit. Knowledge is a benefit.
can no longer keep up. A moment where technological growth accelerates beyond human control, producing
It can be a curse like this entire situation, but it can also be a benefit, you
unpredictable changes in human civilization. According to the most popular version of the singularity hypothesis, an autonomous AI
know.
could begin evolving on its own, rewriting its own code, upgrading itself, and growing smarter with every version until it reaches something far beyond human understanding. At that point, we wouldn't be the most intelligent beings on Earth anymore. Some people imagine it as a kind of utopia where super intelligent AIs solve every global problem in an instant, while others see it as the beginning of the end. No one knows when or even if the singularity will happen, but if it does, it'll be the moment humanity steps out of the driver's seat and into something entirely unknown.
That one, yeah, it's the end of the video. It ends pretty abruptly like that. I'm surprised, but yeah, that is what I meant about. That's slightly what I meant about what happens after cyberpunk era, but it's slightly not at the same time. There's a little bit of the distinction between that, but that's the end of the video. Congratulations for making it so far. I'm impressed with your attention span. Even if you skipped and you cheated, I'm impressed. Congratulations. It's not the end of my video, as you can see from the video length, but it's the end of the Iceberg video, which was the main portion of this. And I think I touched upon everything that I liked, so that I like to talk about. So I'm pretty glad with that outcome as well. Thank you for being here. Now I'm going to go into some other things about how I perceive reality. Because, like I said, this is more of an explanation video about how I see it from my point of view. Because otherwise, you could just watch the video on your own. But yeah, if you don't want to listen to this extra part, just goodbye. But if you want to stick around and hear this extra part, then just stick around and maybe skip around or whatever you want to do. Just have fun with the video, the rest of it. Alright, hi, so welcome to the extra part of the video. It will be pretty short. I think I can make this really, really short, to be quite honest. Um, right, I thought it might have been at least like maybe 10 minutes. Maybe it might be 10 minutes, but I don't think it will cross too much of a uh, time frame, even though I said I wasn't rushing or anything. I don't think it will cross too much of time, because I'm going to speed up this video as well. But basically, this video ties into how AI, again, AI as a topic, main central topic is seemingly messing up people's operating systems as well because people are using AI for code and it may be fucking up Windows 11, for example. So, and this is why a lot of people say, oh, there's a rise in Linux and stuff because people, it's either Mac or Linux is the main operating systems to choose from. If Windows starts fucking up as one of the world's still main operating systems, even more popular than Mac and Windows. Mac and sorry, Mac and Linux. My bad. I said Windows and Windows. I think. Oopsie. Human error. Human
What's
error.
this? The last couple of Windows updates have broken basic Windows features. Oh, how much is this going to cost us? Open the calculator app. You can't, it's broken. Oh well.
This
let me
video is
know.
by
Oh,
Sam
Outlook,
Time.
that's frozen too. Really? Well, just shut down the computer then. Shutdown doesn't work either. The screen's black. Yeah, it just does that sometimes now. Ugh, Windows has become lose-dos. Oh, hi there. I'm Sam Tucker from the company that should probably stop letting its overhyped autocorrect from writing all this code. What I've heard was that the latest Windows 11 updates have been wreaking havoc on people's machines, breaking their basic apps like Calculator, Terminal, and Outlook. Well, the Outlook does look a little terminal right now. It also broke basic functions like
No, it's
shutting down.
terminal.
Although, to be honest, trying to shut down wasn't all that straightforward before.
Yeah,
Quite a
dad
word shutdown option
jokes.
come with a self-destruct. So, what's happening? Well, after installing some January updates, some people have noticed that when they try to open a basic app like Notepad, they get a warning saying, this app is not available for your account, which is strange because
Notepad.
Notepad's free and it comes with your machine since Windows 1.0. Oh, but you see, nowadays, everything is connected to the internet, and you can't even set up your new Windows machine without being online. And in this case, the problem was that the Microsoft Store had trouble
Dang.
validating the app's license. I didn't know that an app needed a license. Freaking Notepad's in its 40s now. It's 1940s. Let it do what it wants. And when it came to the PC not turning off, well, that was apparently an issue with the System Guard's secure launch. It would mess up and ignore any shutdown commands. But that makes sense because you're turning your computer off. And System Guard said he can do a secure launch, but didn't say anything about a secure landing. Now, Microsoft did make a patch to fix the not turning off issue, but that fix is what caused Outlook to freeze up. And the random black screens and apps. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
Windows used to release updates that added features, but now they release downdates that remove them. Anyway, Microsoft have
I
responded
remember the good old
to
Windows 8
these new issues,
days.
and
Oh
I
my
never thought I'd say this,
gosh.
but the solution is to uninstall Windows.
What an interesting time with Nokia phones and stuff.
Yes, be warned though, uninstalling updates can put your PC at risk of working properly, something we clearly did not intend it to ever do. The all-new Windows update.
Yeah, so they're saying that to fix these things, you have to uninstall the products of the security updates, which they're meant to be security updates to keep you from stuff like ransomware, etc. But to fix the problem of until the developers themselves make a patch for it, they're saying to temporarily uninstall these security things so that you might actually become at risk to any things just to make your operating system work is why I wanted to touch upon this video too, because it explains a lot with the current climate of how unstable uh, things are with regards to the world. Like I said, Windows is something that maybe I don't know how much of it off the top of my head, but maybe like I'm guessing maybe like 60-70% of people in the world use. That's just a guess, like a guesstimate, but a very large portion, at least, of the people across the world use Windows still because it's still like it's Microsoft. It's there. Mac has kind of always been slightly behind Linux even more, but allegedly the rise of Linux is happening because of all these things. Um, and if you can't tell what the problem is by now, I think you might have to click off the video. Sorry, this might be beyond you.
Updates breaking everything. You know, it's bad when Windows won't turn on, but it's worse when it won't turn off. Just get out of here. Everyone, thanks for watching the video. So, did you watch this on purpose?
You said subscribe today. How about you subscribe to me too? Anyway, moving on. I don't really care. And this is the other point I'm gonna bring up with this right here. So goodbye, Sam time. Uh, so okay, so this one is basically gonna just be me talking about how I view all of this from my perspective. This has kind of been the entire video already, but I'm gonna just say that all of these things, it doesn't even have to be limited to AI. It could just be, you know, it could just be the world, everything in it, games, uh, writing, art, music, society, societal norms. I wouldn't say morals per se. You gotta have your morals, right? Of course. But a lot of these things to me, and other concepts, uh, technology too, because that's the topic of the video. Unless these things start to relate to this topic you're seeing right now, and I'll explain in a moment, but unless these things, these concepts, everything that exists in the world, unless it start, which it does relate to it, it all does, but unless it directly starts to reference it, I don't really give a rat's ass. Um, My interest, my life's goal is to uncover what I am going to show you. Um, or at least try. At least try. It's a fool's endeavor. If you know why it's a fool's endeavor, you know why it's a fool's endeavor. I'm not going to explain that, I'll take a bit too long. But basically, my goal as a person, let's see if I can find a good enough image. Because these things, like I said, it's the ones in nature spiraling towards a middle point. Put some of these there. Can I find a good one? It says Nautilus. It's like a Nautilus shell. So my goal, even though this is a bit bad of resolution, my apologies. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Right here. Right here. My life goal, even though I have other life goals, of course, as a person, my life goal is not to care about all of these politics with AI, not to care about real world politics besides AI, not to care about um, how the world is right now. I do care, of course. I want to keep knowledgeable. I want to keep, I want to have, I might have phrased that wrong, but I want to have knowledge on, of course, like as any person should in this society. I want to be knowledgeable about anything that comes to pass so that I can prepare for the future, blah, 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 and keep up with the world. But at the same time, when compared to this extremely big topic of finding the center, of finding the singularity, and of figuring it out more so, this is what I've circled here, the middle of the spiral. When I see this, I want to investigate it. I'm a curious person. And this is a topic that I have been investigating for years now. I wouldn't say I've come to the solution towards the spiraling, but it's a loop, and it's a problem that I want to solve. That's all I'm gonna really say about it. This may sound like very philosophical or spiritual nonsense that I'm making up on the fly to anybody who is less experienced with what I've done on DeviantArt and all these other platforms that I've shared information with as my handle, Blood of Phantoms. But yeah, this is what I want to touch upon. I don't really care about. I don't. Same thing here. You always see the middle point, the midpoint. This is basically like a representation of life itself, the spiral. And so, say for example, you're like I guess I can draw here. Say for example, you're um here in the spiral, like this other. It's really fat, the circles. But say for example, you're here, right? The arrow's a bit off, but you know what I mean. Eventually, you will maybe upon your death, you're gonna be going all the way to the center point right there. How do I know this? I think I explained a lot of it on my DeviantArt. maybe you should go look there. But if you don't care about all of that, just continue with the video. Yeah, I want to figure out this fucking. Is this? I put too much red. It's like fucking ketchup now. I want to figure out the center. And I want to figure out how to cease the center because it's a loop. Let me show you. Let me show you. And I suppose for me, this is why it's really good to have a lot of the things I do already presented on these platforms and to have it as reference material, like when times like this come where I want to explain things properly in another format, which is this one's video format. Um, to tie into what that singular point in the spiral is, it's basically this. It's basically yin yang or Boros, which is basically a loop. These two things are the basically the same concept, just represented in different ways. The snake eating its own tail is the same thing as the yin yang, and um, this is basically called duality. I've touched upon it ad nauseum a bunch of times. I will be touching upon it until my death, and it's both riveting and depressing at times. But yeah, to solve the duality, you have to solve the spiral, you have to solve the center point in the spiral, the singularity, as it's maybe called, where everything merges together into one thing, whether that's from a universe perspective or a God perspective is up to your belief. But that's to stop the middling point with all this red. And like they say, the when you stare into the abyss might stare back into you. But basically, what I made is this thing I made way before, like maybe 4 years ago by now. I can't really remember. It basically is a short way of saying what I'm trying to explain, and this is why it's my life goal above all my other life goals to maybe do this because it's a very low chance of actually solving this thing because it's a paradox and you don't really to solve a paradox is it's considered impossible in some cases. um but yeah, this entire thing is just basically a paradox. Existence is basically a paradox, and you may think I'm exaggerating by that, but yeah, I don't care about AI much. This video was made to talk about me, talking about AI, how it's affecting society. I don't really care. I don't really care. Compared to this, the elephant in the room, I don't really care. Because this AI thing is gonna just be something that, let's say, for example, like theoretically, if existence does in fact loop, if we go back to like, quote unquote caveman days, and then we come back to here again, whereas technology, blah, 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 that doesn't matter to me. No matter what time period we're in, we're gonna have to experience this duality thing as a system. Man, woman, sun, moon, land, sky, all these dualistic concepts that pervade every single medium basically that you look at. Um, Even rural, urban, where you live. And This is the thing that likely also causes reincarnation, if you believe in that too, where if we reach the start and the end of, uh, you know, if we reach the start and the end of reality, Big Bang goes into the freeze, and then, it that's a scientific view at least, and then what happens from there? Do we have another Big Bang? Um, and then if that's another Big Bang, won't it have another Big Bang, then another freeze? Isn't that like the universe, like quote unquote resetting? Is that how some? No, that's seriously what some scientists believe. Like, let me search it up. What happens after the Big Bang? If you don't believe me, like, I don't see. Let me type up on the freeze because I don't think I'm getting the exact thing. Right. So after the Big Bang freeze, the universe will enter a state of entropy, becoming a cold, lifeless void where it thinks blah 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 blah. But after this freeze thing, some people do think that from again following this theory, because you can also have it as a religious perspective of returning to the source, returning to God. Um, that's more the thing I believe in, even though I'm not really religious. I don't hold a religion. Um, Officially at least, yeah, I don't hold a religion. Um, no matter what you might think. What um with that, I do want to explain how that might cause reincarnation because if you consider reincarnation as well, you're coming back into reality as a separate being, or maybe even the same being. Sometimes people consider that as well. Um, but just, it could be different, could be not different, but essentially coming back into reality as a person or animal or whatever. Um, you will loop like that. You'll have the Big Bang, the freeze, and then the Big Bang, the freeze, and the Big Bang, the freeze. And if it's the God perspective, you will have the God was once a whole being, and then he separated into different parts, and then the parts became went back to God. But yeah, you would have it where you go from God to which is the source, the one source. Like this, if you had one God, like if you had the prime, omnipotent, um, and omniscient God, like this is one force, not necessarily talking about the multiple gods. I'm talking about the singular God that might exist. You go back to that source allegedly upon death, maybe, and then the thing happens again where you split, um, and then you split and go back to God. That stuff loops, right? Um, and again, like the Big Bang is just a representation of that from a more scientific point of view, with the freeze. This is my dilemma. This is my dilemma right here. And I made this. I made this. Because all I did was I inverted the colors. That's basically all I did. But it reads, you are on a train where black and white are the same. You soon realize that you want to escape. Where do you go? But also this has a little asterisk that says, but just viewed differently. Because all this is just an inversion. Like I said, it's a flip. All I did was flip the colors. I had the original image, which is the white and black, and then I flipped the colors, and it's to show that, like, as the kids say these days, the floor is lava. How do you solve this? Where do you go if the background, if the area is white and everything else is like, where would you go? If the entire floor is lava, where do you go to if you want to get off of the train. Even the outskirts of the train would be the same color. And that's the dilemma of the train dilemma. I basically made this years ago just to describe my point in a very succinct way. And again, I don't really care. I don't really care about anything major the world throws. Uh, I care about it. I care about it to some degree, but I what I'm trying to say is I don't really care about it compared to this dilemma that reality and existence faces. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it's been very informative. I hope that you learned something new, whether it's spirituality, whether it's AI, whether it's I hope it's AI because its main topic has been AI. I hope you've learned something and enjoyed yourself tremendously, if not just a little bit. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.